yourself. Prepare yourself. Some of the same people that are over there in Ukraine and the Ukraine are basically being mean, malicious, and were malicious and still being malicious to our people. So someone would say, well, do we, give that same action towards the people? I say, no, don't get involved. Do what you have to do. Because trust me, in due time and in due season, whether you want to be involved or not, you're going to be pulled in and be involved. Are y'all following me? That's just it's going to be. So it's important that we understand. And I want to say this before we get into the meat of the teaching. If you have not been prepared or preparing for these times, I would truly admonish you from the bottom of my heart to the very top of my heart. Please stock up on your food, stock up on your general items, your personal items while you can. Stock up on it. Because we are in a time of food shortages and hyperinflation. Now, I know we've been hearing it, and if you are a YouTuber like me, you're seeing different ones that are preppers like we are, and you're hearing it on different platforms. People prepare. Don't wait until the last minute, but go ahead on and get your stuff, even if you have to get it in small increments. Get it before, because you don't want to be priced out of the food market. Get it while it is affordable, because there's coming a time where the hyperinflation is going to take over. And I know people are saying, well, it's just a little bit. Y'all, anytime spaghetti sauce goes from 88 cents to $1.42, that's hyperinflation, because that's way over 10%. Way over 10%. So once again, just taking this sidebar so that while you're listening to the class, you'll also be listening and really listening to the Ruach and listening in the Ruach, so that you will understand what time it is, so that you can prepare. It is better to be prepared than not to be. It is better to have the stuff that you need than to need the stuff and have to go out and it's either too expensive or it's no longer there.
Right.
Now, we've been going to different stores, and we've been going, different stores, different Walmarts, just different grocery stores. And I'm here to tell you truthfully, it is not a lie. The shelves are almost bare, and the stuff they do have on the shelves, it may read one thing, but when you take it to buy it, it brings up a whole nother thing. Margarine that was 88 cents now is $1.24, $1 something. And so y'all understand, even the Dollar Tree, which gave people gave them room to be able to buy stuff and to be able to do things. Now it's 5 quarters. I like how one person put it's 5 quarters. In other words, it takes 5 quarters to make $1. No longer is it 4 quarters to make up $1. It's 5 quarters now that make. So in order to buy 2 things, you have to pay $2.50. So you have to pay $2.50. Because that's exactly what it is, $2.50. So a whole dollar is no longer $1. It takes 5 quarters. So with that being said, y'all, it is imperative that we understand what time we're in and also follow what's taking place, so we are not left out in the cold and we are not fighting shadows or people or things that we can't see, because we have turned a deaf ear and a blinded eye because we don't want to get involved. It doesn't matter whether or not you want to get involved. If you are Hebrew, you're automatically involved.
Right.
And the heat just hasn't been turned up quite hot yet, but it's going to, because this is that time. So it is very important that we understand. Once again, if you cannot hear and it's constantly coming in and out, please meet us on YouTube, Champion TV. And you can find us by the title, The Prophet Yasher Declares the End with Islamists. So don't quit us, stick with us, and let's get to the meat of the matter in this class. Once again, we are talking about the prophet who himself saw these things, and he is explaining it and bringing it forward. All right. Let us read. We're in chapter 14, and we're going to look at verses 4 through 7. Everyone can read on this side one verse. Chapter 14 of Yasher, and we're going to look at verses 4 through 7. And it is so. What if you pull it back just a little bit? You think that may make it better? Okay, hopefully that will help. All right. Let's read. You can read those verses, and then I'll let others read. Everybody get in place. Okay. Four to 7.
Will have compassion on Yaakov, and will again choose Yasher, and set them in their own land. And
chapter 14, verses 4.
Okay, verse 4. Okay. Verse 4. Okay. And you shall take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how has the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. And it is so.
Verse 5.
Has broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the
chapter 14 of Yasher, verses 4 through 7. Wait, let me make sure. Let me check. I'm sorry here. I'm in the wrong place. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Verse 6. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke. He that ruled the nations in anger and persecuted, and none hinders. Verse 7. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing, and it is so.
Oh, verse 7. You read all of 7?
Yes.
Okay. All right, y'all. I'm sorry. Give me a second to get that one. Have it in 2 places, please.
6.
All right. That you shall take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how has the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. Yahuwah has broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with the continual stroke. He that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted, and none hinders. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing, and it is so. All right, now, the radical Gulf nation chief of which is Saudi Arabia will no longer oppress the house of Yasher. Now, one thing we have to understand, context. That's key. Context clues. When you watch and listen to context clues allow you to understand if it is present, if it is future, or if it is a present thing. That's important that we listen to and that we recognize. Now let's read. We're going to look at 14:9. We are told the king of Babylon will be brought down. So this is not Nebuchadnezzar, but the future king. That is the anti-Mashiach who will rule this region of the world. Once again, context clues are very important. Very important. All right, let's look at 14:9.
Chapter 14, verse 9.
Yeah.
Sheol below is eager to greet your coming. He stirs up He stirs up the spirits of the departed for you, all the rulers of the earth. He makes all the kings of the nations rise from their thrones. And it is so.
And it is so. All right. Sheol from beneath is excited about you to meet you at your coming. It stirs up the dead for you, all the chief ones of the earth. It has raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. The Hebrew word goy means heathen or nations, and is used here for all the kings of these nations. So it would be kings of the heathens. Remember, we talked about the heathens. Who are the heathens? The heathens are not just not a people that don't go to church, as Christianity would have you believe, but the heathens that Abba Yahuwah has described are the Islamic or the Arab nation. Are y'all following me? You know, when we were in Christianity and you would hear people talk and they would say, especially if you were new people that were just Sunday Christians and you didn't go to church on a Sunday. I had this young man tell me that's because I didn't go to church that I was a heathen. He himself didn't know what a heathen was because he was going to church, but he was doing everything Monday through Saturday, whatever he thought he was big and bad enough to do under the sun. So you must understand we cannot go with that line of definement or definition of what a heathen is. Abba Yahuwah called the Islamic people heathens. He called them heathens. I didn't do it. He did. And so it is important that we understand that this is who is being spoken about. The nation of the Islamic nation. Once again, the Hebrew word goy means heathen or nations and is used here in this verse for all the kings of these nations. So it would be kings of the heathens. This indicates that these are the heathens, Islamic kings, whom Yahuwah will judge and set his wrath against their wickedness. The Hebrew word for earth is eretz, which more correctly relates to the countries surrounding Israel and not the whole world, as assumed by many, since the context is Babylon and the fight is with Yasher. This is why if your context is wrong, then your conclusion is going to be wrong. If you understand context and if you understand conclusions, then you understand with math problems. If your context is wrong and you're trying to get your equation together, if you don't have the right variables, then your context or your conclusion is definitely going to be wrong, because in order to get the answer to a problem, you got to have all the variables in the right place. Without that, it's not going to be right. And so, in other words, we must understand this once again, and it's fight with Yasher, with us. That's important for us to understand. When we are able to watch this, listen to me carefully, get out of our feelings and our emotions and listen to the writings, then we will be able to see clearly. Many times we can't accept it because we've been over inundated with Christianity, and we believe that everybody is our neighbor. We believe that we're supposed to love everybody. We're supposed to accept whatever comes our way. We're supposed to accept people being racist towards us. Understand something. You cannot be a racist people. We cannot be. We cannot. So it is important that we understand the foundation and understand truth, even though it may seem and feel like it is going against the grain. And to a degree, it will go against the grain. Why? Because if people are not accepting this and throwing it aside and saying, well, that's a hate speech or a hate teaching, of course you're going to reject it. But you must understand, their view of us is not what you think. Their view of us as a people is very negative and derogative. They do not believe that we have a right to the land. We don't have a right to the inheritance or to our name and being the chosen, because you have to understand, these are our cousins. This is family. This is family. But they were not the chosen. Y'all hear me? Pull it up some so I can see myself on YouTube. All right. Now, it's important that we understand the king of Babylon, future, who will be sent to hell, and all the kings of the heathens, Yahuwah used these words for Islamic nations, around about Yasher, but it covers the whole Islamic world in general. See, because many times what we fail to recognize and to accept is that this is what the Abba has said. I didn't make the book up. I just follow it. I just follow it and do what I'm commissioned and told to do. And that is to spread the truth to you. Pull the thing down some. Yes. Thank you. So it's important that we understand these things. Are you following me? Very important. All right, now let's look at Yasher chapter 14 and let's go down to verse 12. It's very, very important that we understand these things and that we not turn a deaf ear. Once again, I understand that it can be very challenging, especially when we've not heard this or we've heard it and it feels like to a degree, okay, now that's kind of like a hate teaching because you're teaching solely against these people. Well, you must understand something. For years, I didn't know that these were our family members, that these are cousins. You have to understand, we are brothers' children. And because one was chosen and one was not, you have siblings, children that are fighting. Because everybody wants a piece of that, but only the chosen can have it. Only the chosen can have it. So that's important for us to recognize and understand. All right, verse 12, chapter 14, verse 12.
And it is so.
And it is so.
How you have fallen from Shemaim, or morning star, son of the dawn. You have been cast down to the earth, you who once laid low the nations. And it is so.
And it is so. Now, let's listen at this. Yahuwah starts to describe this individual as Shaitan. The Ibram word Hilal ben Shakar is used for son of the morning, which literally means in Aramaic, son of the crescent moon. Are y'all following me? Son of the crescent moon in Aramaic. Now let's follow this closely. Does this ring a bell with Islam and their global crescent symbol, under which early morning prayers are uttered? See, most of the time we fail to recognize these things because we don't even pay attention to it until it is brought to our attention. Now, somebody will say, of course we wouldn't know until it's brought to our attention. But you have to understand as well, we see things and we don't really put it together because we say, well, where were we involved in that? How is our involvement in it? We always hear about the bombings, but y'all, they don't tell you everything on the social media. They're not telling you everything on in the news. They're not going to tell you that those were Hebrews that died. There was some seasons ago when we were a brother we were connected with, and we still are. We'll hear from him every now and then. I think he's in England, right? The brother that was telling us about that. Okay, well, he's either in England or he's somewhere in that area where you would believe because of the bombings, you think, okay, that was just European people died. No, y'all, those were our people that died, but they're not going to tell you that these were our people that suffered at the hands of an Islamic bomber. God. Did you not know, and I'm sure many of you may not, and this is not to be sounding arrogant or pompous, but did you not know that the Islamic people, the Islamic nations were the first ones to bring us as a people into slavery? And all the European people did was copied it. They were copycats.
God.
Are you following me?
God.
They were copycats. So never ever, throw anything away without checking it out. Always do your research and clarify what is being said. Now understand, you can't go and try to straddle the fence. You can't do that. It's very unhealthy to do that. But it's important that we understand that they follow under the crescent moon, and they also, their animals have it on them. That's their symbol. That's their symbol. All right. Now, it's important that we understand. Let's look at Yasher 14 and 13. Let's look at all the words that's being said here.
And it is so.
Okay.
And it is so.
Let's read.
You said to yourself, I will ascend to the Shemaim. I will set up my throne above the stars of Yahuwah. I will sit on the mount of the assembly of the powers assembly in the remotest part of the north. And it is so.
And it is so. Now, the language here starts to describe Shaitan, but the play on words describe, watch this, the anti-Mashiach, the sides of the north, the Temple Mount, and Kadesh are mentioned. 14, I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. We know it was Shaitan who wanted to be like Yahuwah. Excuse me. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. Judgment is set for Shaitan and cannot change. It is only a matter of time now before he is cast into the deep dungeon that is reserved for him. You can see his 5 I wills in Yasher 14 and 13. All Shaitan's proclamations to be like Yahuwah. Let's read verse 16, please.
And it is so. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon you and consider you, saying, is this man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms? That made the world as a wilderness, and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of the prisoners?
And it is so. Now, once again, that goes with that. Let's look at verse 16 and verse 17, which is one verse. That allows us to understand the full context of what's being brought forth. Now, it says, they that see you shall narrowly look upon you and consider you, saying, is this the man? Is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms? Shaitan is not a man, is he? He is not a man, but he can take on the form of man. But this is talking about a man. A man. This is talking about the anti-Mashiach. Now watch this. That made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners. He will be brutal and kill many people, but will show himself as a peaceful man. So this is why it is important and imperative that we educate ourselves behind this. Are y'all following me? Very important that we educate ourselves about this group of people or this religion. The religion, are y'all hearing me? That we educate ourselves and compare the two, because you must understand something. Abba Yahuwah warns us. Warning comes before what? Destruction. And so we are being warned in the scripture of this type of person to accomplish. Now listen here. Here comes the switch where now Shaitan is being described as a man. This play on words shows that this talk is of the anti-Mashiach, who is like Shaitan, possessed by him. Yasher 14 starts by judging Shaitan, and the reasons for his judgment are obvious. Then switching to this person that we know to be the anti-Mashiach, who is described as the son of the moon crescent, Halal ben Shakar. The text also tells us he does shake kingdoms. This is not loose talk, but he will cause grief in many nations in the world. This person is out to destroy and cause mischief and mayhem. Just take a look at present day Islam and how people are troubled by fanatic Islam, with many people dead or wounded already. Now, someone would dare to say, well, this is the radical. These are. We end up faltering because we try to separate that group. But it's just like when you understand Roman Catholicism, everything that came out of Rome belongs to Rome. Christianity came out of Rome, and it belongs to Rome. I don't care how you try to divide it. I don't care how people say it's Pentecostal, sanctified, holy. It's all under the same hub. You belong to the Pope. Now, I know that is a hard pill for so many to swallow, because it's like, no, we ain't. We different from them. Christianity, do you know what that means? It means circle. It means basically that you all are a part of the same thing.
Right.
And so with that being said, you have those that say, well, we're going to do it this way. And you have those that say, we're going to do it that way. But when it all summed up, it's still all the same thing. You look at their garbs. They wear the same thing. The bishops, even the pastors in their robes. It's all the same thing because it comes from the same hub. Are y'all following? So you can't separate. It's the same thing that you can't say, well, that's just those Islamists. They are Islam. And Islam abides by the creed of Quran. And watch this, the hadiths. What are the hadiths? The hadiths are the sayings of Muhammad.
Right.
And any Muslim that is truly a Muslim will tell you that not only do we follow the Quran, but the hadiths are also a major part of our lives because they are the sayings or the quotes of Muhammad.
That's right.
And that is what helps to build and substantiate their religion.
Right.
So you got to know all that before, you go in saying, well, I want to be a part of this, because you have to understand once you're in, you don't get out. But you must understand, if you are Hebrew, if you are from Africa, many people want to deny that, then you must understand you are only looked at as being a slave and a kafir. You will never, ever be able to be a Muslim, not by their standards. You could say you're a Muslim all day long, but if you ask one that is truly sold out and truly a Muslim, they will tell you Black people or Hebrews, aka Black people, will never be able to be Muslims.
Right.
Because you're only looked at as being a slave. You will never be able to be that. You can dream about it, you can think about it all day long as a Muslim, and that is in the Sharia law.
That's right.
Sharia law. All right. Now, let's finish reading. Listen at what the things they've done. Just take a look at present day Islam and how people are troubled by fanatic Islam, and many people dead or wounded already. Now, these happened a while back, but you can look these up. How about the riots in France, the suicide bombings in Yasher, Iraq, and proliferation in Afghanistan? But perhaps you're thinking about the alleged peace in Afghanistan. What peace? Have you ever been to Afghanistan? If you don't know what's going on, then you must understand there is no peace over there. The Islamic tribalism and warlords in Afghanistan can never usher in true peace. Only governments change, but the tribes remain in war or at war. It's important that we understand that. Recently in Afghanistan, a woman author, now watch this, was beaten to death by her husband for the simple fact that she wrote an ordinary novel that angered him. Another woman who stood for free elections was killed because she is a woman. Now, if this is a definition of peace, then perhaps my definition of peace is possibly wrong. Now, once again, you don't believe, look these articles up. You can find them. It's public. It's public information to a degree.
Right.
To a degree. You want to find out what's going over there? Look up Vice TV on YouTube and look at the news. Stuff that we will not get, because you have to understand some stuff they want to censorship it because they want you to be ignorant. I want to show you something. There's a book that I'm reading, and it is a very important book, and it's called The Legacy of Arab Islam in Africa. The Legacy of Arab Islam in Africa. Y'all, this book is important, and it is a very informative book about how history and the historians have covered up the truth about the Islamic slavery or slave trade in Africa, and how those the hideous and horrible things that the Islamic people did to our people. They don't want you to read about that. They don't want you to know about that. They want that to be kept silent.
Right.
But y'all, if you want to truly know the truth and be free, then you've got to be willing to accept the good, the ugly, the bad, and the indifferent.
God.
You have to. See, the focus has been taken off of them only for a short while. But in time, you're going to recognize who the true enemy is.
Right.
Give it time. Because one thing about time, time does not lie.
That's right.
It does not. All right. Now, verse 17. Let's read.
That made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners.
This person's principal sign is not government. Like most people predict and allege one world government. You think they are not looking for one world government. They're not pushing for the government to do anything. They have their own system and their own way to do things.
That's right.
This person's principal sign is not government, like most people predict and allege one world government. His principal sign is destruction, as that is what he brings to the cities of the world. Look around the world. Who is blowing up bombs and becoming suicide bombers? Muslims. Y'all, that's not a fact. That's a truth. Facts change, but truth remains the same. And though it is not popular, because once again, people would prefer to keep the spotlight on those who really are not relevant. They're not relevant when it comes to our cause. Yes, they have done things, and yes, they're going to be punished. But you must recognize and understand, once again, that's two families, Ishmael and Yaakov. Are you hearing me? Family. Yasher, are you hearing me? You have to understand, once again, the fight. What's going on? Isaiah. Are you hearing me? Not Isaiah. Ishmael and Isaac. Isaac. I'm thinking Ishmael, Yasher, but Isaac. Thank you. Yaakov and Isaac. You have to understand, these were two brothers. And so you have to understand the fight is with the children. Because when he was weaned and it was brought forth and it was shown that he was the heir, though he was the baby, he hated him. He did not want to see him live. So y'all must understand that hatred was embedded into the Islam or Arabic nation.
Right.
Somebody said, but you can't put that on all Arabs. History does not lie when it is written by the right people. If you want to know if a history is real, check and see if it's suppressed. If it is suppressed, then you know without a shadow of a doubt, then it's a real history.
Right.
You must understand, y'all, the way that we view them, they view us in a totally different way. They believe that we are going to bring about the anti-Mashiach. We say, well, they see us like we see them. Y'all, but what writings are they following? They're following the Quran, which is a second-hand, are you hearing me? Creation or book that Muhammad created.
Right.
We are following the writings that Abba Yahuwah brought forth.
That's right.
That's what we are following. And their mindset is the Ibram or the Yehudam, what they call us, are going to usher in the anti-Mashiach. They say that we are a people that are hateful. We're not hateful. We're just standing on what we believe and what we know to be right. Abraham. Ishmael is not the one, but he will be Baruch. I will not leave him out because he is your son. Their issue was, that's not good enough. We want the land and we want the name. That's what the fight is about, y'all. And though, once again, it has been clouded and shrouded in lies and deception, and historians have taken it and literally destroyed the history. That's why it is truly hard to find a lot of stuff to substantiate that, except the word to validate that this is true. But if we read the writings with an open heart and truly look at it and the information that is presented, then you will be able to see this is who the Abba is speaking of. The characteristic, the nature of these people. Nobody else has that nature.
Right.
And you must understand they're the only ones that control the black gold.
That's right.
Because it was given to them, not European people. Don't believe that lie. They don't control no gold. They don't control the black gold, which is oil. They don't control that. Arabs do. Are y'all following me? All right, that's important. All right, verse 18, read that for me.
Verse 18 reads, all the kings of the nations, even all of them, lie in esteem, every one of his own house.
Mm-hmm.
And it is so.
And it is so. It describes the kings as having graves and lying in wait for the resurrection. Verse 19, but thou art cast out of thy grave like an abominable branch, and as the remnants or remnant, of those that are slain, thrust through with the sword that go down to the stones of the pit, as a carcass trodden under feet. This person is not Shaitan, but the anti-Mashiach, who has no grave. Here he is an abominable branch. Yet the Mashiach is described as the branch, also in Yasher 11:1. Somebody get that for me. Yasher 11:1, please.
And it is so. And it is so.
All right, let's read that, please.
Then a shoot will grow from the stump of Jesse, and a branch from his roots will bear fruit.
Verse 2.
The ruach of Yahu will rest on him, a ruach of wisdom and understanding, a ruach of counsel and strength, a ruach of knowledge and the fear of Yahuwah. And it is so.
Read it. Read the rest. You got to read to verse 4.
Okay. His delight will be in the fear of Yahuwah. He will not judge, but what he sees with his eyes. He will not execute justice by what he hears with his ears, but he will judge the poor righteously and execute justice for the oppressed of the land. He will strike the land with discipline. From his mouth he will kill the wicked with a command from his lips. And it is so.
And it is so. The difference, that's the Mashiach. The Mashiach is being spoken of, and then the anti-Mashiach. So that's showing us a comparison. Y'all, it's so important once again that we recognize and are able to read and view the scriptures accordingly. Accordingly. And let us not once again be overtaken in our emotions and thwarted by past heresies and the way we've been taught to believe. You know, Christianity had you believing you had to accept everything. Somebody slap you in the head, just turn the other cheek and go about your way. They kill you, you forgive them and love them and go on about your way. They could hate you, destroy your stuff. That we are supposed to just accept racism and go on. Y'all, come on now, let's be real. We're the only people that is always preached to. We're the only people that are supposed to accept these things. We're the only people that are at the end of the line waiting, and still they're telling you, well, in your waiting, you see your people dropping off like flies. Oh, it ain't no problem. Don't worry. You know, don't even worry about it. It's just accept it as normal. This is not the norm, and we are not to accept the norm. All right. Now, excuse me. Verse 20. Thou shalt not be joined with them in burial, because thou hast destroyed thy land and slain thy people. The seed of evildoers shall never be renowned. It describes the fact that this person will not be buried in the grave, and his body will just disappear after his death, so that no one can go to his grave and try to exalt him or make a shrine for him like the Muslims do. His end signifies extreme judgment, and his seed signifies both his children and his followers, who will not be known. That is made famous due to their lack of righteousness. In other words, you're not going to be able to come back and say, we're going to start a revolution and we're going to start something because we have something to hold on to. There will be nothing left to hold on to.
That's right.
Nothing at all. Yasher 14:25.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Yasher 14 and 25 reads, that I will break the Assyrian in my land, and upon my mountains tread him underfoot. Then shall his yoke depart from off them, and his burden depart from off their shoulders. And it is so.
And it is so. Now, once again, their land. Let's look at that. We're going to look at it in two places. The Assyrian is a title of the anti-Mashiach, right out of the Middle East, where the land of Assyria is, and not in Europe or the USA. Not in Europe or the USA. The Assyrian is a title of the anti-Mashiach, right out of the East or the Middle East, where the land of Assyria is, and not in Europe or the USA. So everybody want to run around talking about Babylon is falling and we need to get out of America. Understand geography and understand character and understand the characteristic and all of those that make up and shape this. America doesn't fit it. Now, I ain't saying America is the perfect place or the best place, but America does not fit the criteria nor the characteristic. So that's important for us to understand. We can't just go running off of what somebody says. Get the facts straight so you can get the truth. Once you get your facts straight, then the truth will be easier to accept. Even if those facts change, guess what? The truth will never change. Never. Now, he said that I will break the Assyrian in my land, and upon my mountains tread him underfoot. Then his yoke depart from off them, and his burden departs from off their shoulders. The identity is revealed again. We are told this in the Assyrian. This is the same person called the Gog in Ezekiel chapter 38. He will be destroyed on the mountains of Yasher. Now, where was biblical Assyria? New York, Washington, D.C., or Europe? Not so. The region of Turkey, Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon is the answer. While for foolish and ignorant prophecy teachers, it's Europe or the USA. This is not, y'all, the truth, because it does not line up. It doesn't line up. Someone gives you a recipe, and you go and you bake the cake, and it's supposed to be a pineapple cake, but nowhere is pineapple in it. It's just a butter or lemon cake. No pineapple, but they say it's a pineapple cake. Just because it's a cake doesn't mean that that is the cake that was described. One of the main ingredients of the cake was the pineapple, which was left off. So if you're not watching ingredients, if you're not watching ingredients, if you're not watching this character, and you're not watching criteria, y'all, then it's easy to accept what everybody else is saying. It's important that you find character and make sure it's lining up, because if it doesn't line up, y'all, then that means we're running after something because it's popular. It just because it's popular doesn't mean it's right. Doesn't mean it's right. So we must be careful with that. Yasher chapter 14, verses 29 to 31. And it reads, rejoice not thou, whole Palestinian, all the Palestinians, because the rod of him that smote thee is broken. The prime minister is suddenly killed or removed. For out of the serpent's root shall come forth a and his fruit shall be a fiery serpent, description of missiles. And the firstborn of the poor shall feed, and the needy shall lie down in safety. And I will kill thy root with famine, and he shall slay thy remnant. Yahuwah sends his famine and kills the Palestinian by his hand. This could be supernatural. How, O gate, cry, O city, thou whole Palestina, art dissolved. For there shall come from the north a smoke, and none shall be alone in his appointed times. Big trouble to come from the north. To come, not has already come, but is to come, or has already come. No, is to come. Context clues are important
Con.
because context clues will either substantiate the information or it will debunk it. Are y'all hearing me?
Con.
It will either substantiate it and flesh it out, or it will debunk it and destroy it. That's important. Are y'all hearing me?
Con.
This appears to be a warning to the Palestinian people not to rejoice so soon or start giving out candy as they did when it was 9/11. It appears likely that the king of Yasher is killed or removed. We are not told if it is by assassination, but this is a possibility. Could this be for a future prime minister who is suddenly removed, whereby the Palestinians rejoice? But then another Israeli prime minister will come who is even fierce or more determined than the one before him to deal with the Palestinian terrorists. He kills them by firing missiles, fiery flying serpent. Literally, this can read burning flying snakes representing missiles. We know Ariel Sharon had been executing terrorists in the fashion, so this could have an application for him or for another prime minister to come. It talks about there being famine sent by Yahuwah in the Palestinian territories and the war ascending out of the north, that is Turkey, Iraq, Syria, Lebanese regions, with all of these nations getting involved in some serious action, whether it is some sort of biological accident or missile strike. There appears to be much trouble in the Palestinian regions, probably caused by one of their leaders. The language used for this is art dissolved. This seems some type of biological hazard is extreme. Burden of the desert. Yasher 21:1. The burden of the desert of the sea, as whirlwinds in the south pass through. So it cometh from the desert, from a terrible land. Saudi Arabia is literally the desert of the sea. That is nations around about it and seas around about it. Look at the Middle East map. There's a map in here, but I can't, because it's too small, I can't even show you. Okay. Now, in Jeremiah, Yahuwah gives us another indication that this is the nation with many seas. Jeremiah 51:13. Which is Jeremiah.
And it is so.
51, I'm sorry, Jeremiah 51:13.
And it is so.
All right, let's read, please.
And it reads, O you that dwell upon many waters, abundant in treasures, your end is come, and the measure of your covetousness. And it is so.
And it is so. All right. Let's look at this. Saudi Arabia dwelling upon or near many seas. That's just a description, y'all. That is why when we read, it is important that we have something to help us as like or a what is it? A map. You know how the map has a key on it. It's important that we have a key in order to understand the writings. It's important that we have information that helps to substantiate, watch this, and flesh out the writings so that we're able to see what is being said. And Abba Yahuwah does have people that he speaks to on that level to where he is able to give them and show them how to have that action to give it to us so that we can pass it out to you. Are you hearing me? To show us these things. And so, y'all, it is important and imperative that we understand that and we acknowledge it. These many waters are literally and not symbolic of nations and peoples. For if it were, it would say, you who dwell with many waters, not by many waters. Once again, context clues are important. And the structure of the sentence is important. Very important. Burden against the sea, Saudi Arabia. Yasher 21 and 1 through 10.
And it is so.
Mm. All right.
Yasher chapter 21, verse 1 to 10.
Yeah.
An oracle against the desert by the sea. Like storms that pass over Negev, it comes from the desert, from the land of terror. A troubling vision is declared to me. The treacherous one acts treacherously, and the destroyer destroys. Advance Elam, lay siege, you Medes. I'll put an end to all her groaning. Therefore I am filled with anguish. Pain grips me like the pain of a woman in labor. I am too perplexed to hear, too dismayed to see. My heart staggers, horror terrifies me. He has turned my last glimmer of hope into sheer terror. Spread out a carpet. Eat and drink. Rise up, you princes, and oil the shields. For Yahu has said to me, Go, post a lookout. Let him report what he sees. When he sees riders, pairs of horsemen, riders on donkeys, riders on camels, he must pay close attention. Then the lookout reported, Yahuwah, I stand on the watchtower all day, and I stay at my post all night. Look, riders come, horsemen in pairs, and he answered, saying, Babylon has fallen, Babylon has fallen. All the images of her gods have been shattered on the ground. My people who have been crushed on the threshing floor, I have declared to you what I have heard from Yahuwah of hosts, the Abba of Yasher. And it is so.
And it is so. Excuse me. Now, once again, it's important that we look at this that was said. I'm going to read to you footnotes to help to flesh this out. Once again, as you read it and you recognize who that people are, you can start putting the pieces to the puzzle together, because you recognize this is not a mysterious people, but this is a people that are grounded. This is a people that have been around since we've been around.
Right.
This is a people that have been around since our ancestors and forefathers have been around. Verse 1, the burden of the desert of the sea, as whirlwinds in the south pass through. So it comes from the desert, from a terrible land. Now listen what it says. Yasher confirms our view. This is the Middle East, and more specifically, the location is not in some city in Europe. This ties in full agreement with Revelations 13 and 1. Where the same words sand of the sea are used, which stand by the desert of Saudi Arabia. The end time beast comes from the desert region of the Middle East and not Europe or the USA. And stop using it as that. Once again, you have to understand, many times people, when they think about, when you hear about the woman in the scarlet and the purple, they automatically try to say that's the Pope. Yo, you got to understand, it is imperative that we read and recognize the scriptures. Are you hearing me? Very important that we recognize that. All right, let's see. See what we're not for. Therefore, in verse 3, cramps overwhelm me. My stomach hurts as the birth pains of a woman that is ready to give birth. I was bowed down at the hearing of it. I was made at the seeing of it. Now, you have to understand, if you ain't never had a baby before, you don't know what them pains are. And I've had 9. And so you have to understand that's some excruciating pain. My heart palpitates. I shake in fear. The night of my pleasure has he turned into fear to me. Prepare the table. Watch in the watchtower. Eat, drink, arise, you princes, and anoint the shield. For thus has the master said to me, go, set a watchman. Let him declare what he sees. And watch this. This is what the watchman saw. And he saw a chariot with 2 horsemen, a chariot of donkeys and a chariot of camels. Excuse me. And he hearkened diligently with much heed. Now let's look at the horsemen. The 2 horsemen personify the 2 divisions of Islam and Shia. The donkey and the camel are the common mode of transport. Camels coming out of Saudi Arabia desert, not the plush Vatican and Rome, where you will have trouble finding camels. Are y'all understanding me? Understanding context clues, character. Are you hearing me? Characteristics. If it does not fit, stop trying to force it.
Right.
Babylon here is not Iraq, but the extension of it, more like the daughter of Babylon, but in scripture, prophets see it as one entity. The only thing is here, the prophets at times saw Babylon as one entity, including Saudi Arabia. Because although in Yasher 21 verse 9, Babylon is fallen, but the cities mentioned are not in Iraq, but in Arabia. That is, we do not see Erech, Akkad, and Kalna. It's like in Middle East, Eastern culture, when you name a family, instead of naming each individual person, you just name one person. That is the head, and that includes all of them. We see that in the Bible with the tribes, where just one person is named, that includes thousands of descendants underneath them, such as Yehuda. Verse 10, O my threshing and the corn of my floor, that which I have heard of Yahuwah of hosts, the power of Yasher have I declared to you. So he is sharing with us and he is showing us what the watchman saw in detail. Are y'all hearing me? Now we're going to stop right there. He said, the latter verse, O my threshing and the grain of my floor, that which I have heard from Yahuwah of hosts, the power of Yasher I have declared to you. He declared it to us from the writings, from the mouth of Yahuwah to his ears, to our ears. Now it is up to us to put away our immaturity. There's nothing wrong with being ignorant if you don't know a thing. But it's important that once truth hits our hearts, regardless of if it is a struggle to accept it because we've never heard it before, to accept it. Now someone said, well, why should I accept your information, if I'm not, really set on it? Why should I accept? I'm not asking you to accept my information. I'm asking you to accept what the word just explained to you. Yasher, Isaiah explains to us who these people are. Once again, you're not going to go to the Vatican and find camels. You're not going to go there and find that. But this specifically gives us instructions and in detail what to expect and what to look for. As I said before, y'all, I believe with all my heart, we're on the verge of Yaakov's troubles. And it will be a very, very bad thing to be outside of truth. It will be a very, very bad thing to believe you're in truth and you're still acting all off like you don't know what truth is. Because you have to understand, the Abba is bringing forth his revealed knowledge. And the writings tell us, he who hath an ear, let him hear what the Ruach is saying unto the congregation, not the church. We are the congregation.
Right.
And it is important and it's time for you to have an ear for the truth. You ought to get tired of the same old thing over and over and over again. And really start asking, okay, Abba Yahuwah, once this is over, what happens? Show me in the scripture where it says that anybody is going to heaven to live there. That is what the interpretation has been. And that is what what interpretation has been given. It says, they never said not one black person was going to heaven.
Right.
But yet we took that and believed, okay, well, they're going to heaven, we must be too. They didn't even want to give you the truth. So it is imperative that we understand that Abba Yahuwah has a better way for us. And that he wants us to know who we are and whose we are. But if you want to know the truth, then you're going to have to get out of your feelings and get out of your emotions. Because your feelings and your emotions will keep you believing that the truth is not the truth.
Right.
They don't want us to do this, but the scriptures don't lie.
God.
They don't lie. We are cousins. We're cousins. And because they were not entitled to the land, but we are, they're angry with that identity and land. That's what they're all upset about. And you must understand their views. We are nothing more than monkeys, ignorant, and worth nothing. But Abba Yahuwah says differently.
God.
Because we're the ones with the inheritance. We're the ones with his name. They are not.
God.
And we are in this situation because of our ancestors' disobedience. And guess what? We inherited it because we continue to walk in and we continue to be disobedient. Let me tell y'all something. Disobedience from 1 to 10, I don't care what place it's in. If you think you're going to get one thing from Abba Yahuwah being disobedient, then you got another thing coming. You are not going to get it. You're not. You have to understand something. Abba Yahuwah requires us, and it is a requirement for us to be obedient to him and to walk in his statutes and in his ways. That is what is required. Y'all, as I said at the beginning, once you hear and you've heard all this, this has not already happened. That's where you must understand. This has not already taken place. It is going to take place. But that's the lie. People believe it's already taken place. It has not taken place already.
Right.
But it is going to.
God.
It is going to. And this is why I believe that what we are going through is just setting up and making everything fertile for these things to take place.
God.
I believe that where we are now, it is making the earth and those that are involved, it's making it fertile and making it ready for the action or the next action to take place. We're in a time of a crisis where there's food shortages, there's famine in the land. Y'all, excuse me, just because you don't see them looting doesn't mean that it's not happening.
Exactly.
Does not mean it's not happening. You have people that are telling people, basically begging people to prepare. We have been in the supermarkets, and it is no lie. Hyperinflation is about to drive some folk crazy. Because when you go to the store and you've worked 40 hours and you go in the store, but you can't afford, after working 40 hours, nothing but maybe a bag of food because it is so expensive, that's going to make folk really go off their rocker. This is where things are going to be set up. Now, understand something. One thing I want you to get out your vocabulary: one world government. Ain't no such thing. Are y'all following me?
God.
That is important for us to understand. They ain't looking at government. All they looking at is follow me, and this is what we're going to do. And if you don't like it, then and you don't do it, then you're going to die. Y'all, but while we can prepare and you can plan and you can safeguard your family, then you need to do so. You need to do so. Stop waiting for the last minute when you've already been told. Even in Proverbs, it tells us it is the prudent man that prepares. You don't prepare, guess what? You're foolish. And you don't get the stuff you need, you're foolish. And there's nothing nobody can do because Yahweh ain't gonna help you when he's already given you the instructions. As I've said before, I believe that the reason things are going the pace they're going is because Abba Yahu is giving his people time. But with everything, time always runs out. Time ain't gonna keep, because time does not go backwards. I'm here to tell you, if you don't get what you need to get in the time frame when you go to get it, you ain't gonna be able to afford it. Or it's not going to be there. I'm not going to be foolish. I'm not going to be like the 5 foolish virgins. You know what you need to keep yourself. You know the bridegroom is coming and you don't prepare. You foolish. Right. When you know the things that you're supposed to get, but yet you continue to put it off. Y'all, some stuff is ridiculously high. God. People say, well, I'm going to learn. Until you can get your stuff growing and you can get off the grid, you have to still buy. I was listening to this lady, and I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to close. And many of you maybe have experienced this. I know we have on numerous occasions going to Walmart. I hate having to go there, but for now, we've been going to different stores because we're trying to find other places to go and find the stuff we need. And so until we can get our garden, we have a garden, but trying to maintain stuff, but that's a whole nother story. But we were at Walmart, and if you notice, they have signs that give you one price, but then when you go ring it up, it's a whole nother price. And now many of the Walmart stores don't want to honor what their price say. They want to go with what the computer says or what it's ringing up. Well, you got to understand that's false advertisement. Because if it says that it's 88 cents, then it's supposed to be given at 88 cents, not $1.42, not $1.44 or $1.24. But now when you go, you have those that say, well, we can't change only maybe one, or we can't change it at all. Which by law, if it is in writing and it is presented there, or that's what it is being promoted for, then you have to honor that. But for whatever reason, Walmart feels like they don't have to. Now, what's that going to do for a lot of people? Well, you go in and you budget off of that. You have to really not budget off of that what you see, because once it's in there, y'all, they are not really trying to change a lot of stuff. And so we have to recognize that, y'all. And we as a people have to be ahead of the game. Buy it in bulk. I'm not telling you to hoard any food. Buy your food and eat. Don't wait and then don't do anything.
Right.
Because if you do that, what happens? You're going to be out there. And if you expect somebody to give you theirs, you're in trouble. You can't obligate somebody to help you when you have the time to help yourself. Yo, it is important that we understand that, and that we do the things that we have been given, because understand something. This ain't the fight, yo. But there is a fight that Yasher is going to have to fight, and we better be prepared. We better be prepared. And so with that being said, once again, I pray that there is something that has been said that has encouraged you, but most importantly, that has provoked you to do better, and continue to do your research, but do your research on the right side. Get the right context so your conclusion will be right, so that you can make sure that what you're reading and the information that is given lines up, and you're not trying to force it in. Y'all know, like the stepsisters with Cinderella, they were trying to force their feet in her slipper, and they just was gonna make it fit. Well, there's some things you can't make fit. If it don't fit, you cannot force it. And so that's the most important thing. If it does not fit, I don't care if the populace is following up behind it. I don't care what scholarly person is saying. If it does not fit the writings, I don't care how much information is given. I don't care how much history can back it up. If the writings don't back it up, the writings have to back it up. If it does not fit that, then you can't accept it. And if you do, then you are going against what the Abba has given us, and helps us to understand what is true. So once again, I pray that something that has been said that will encourage you, that has provoked you to maintain your walk with Abba Yahuwah, and don't let anybody beguile you with their enticing messages, or basically make merchandise of you because of their words, but that you follow the truth, and that you continue to seek the Abba with your whole heart, and don't be discouraged, but be encouraged, and understand that the Abba didn't bring us here to leave us, but he brought us here to continue to reveal his revealed knowledge, so that we will not be in the dark, but that we will walk in his marvelous light, the Torah, and be able to know that we are free, because whom the Son has set free is free, and what? Indeed. We're free indeed. And so let's prepare, and let's be about the Abba's business, and let's continue to enjoy this Sabbath rest. Once again, I am Aliyah Yasher, and I'm the Mora of Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom, Hebraic Belief Congregation, located in South Carolina. I want you to remember, here at Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom, Hebraic Belief Congregation, this is the place where the Torah does the body excellent. Until next time, may Abba Yahuwah Baruch Atah and keep you in his shalom until we meet again. Also, I want you to remember that the push is on. Work smarter, not harder. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Also, you've been touched by Champion TV, a place where the champions reside. And it is so.
And it is so.